The Elements of Friendship, Book 1, Harmony, by Amorous Thicklin. Chapter 12, The Zebra Queen. Whoa! Rainbow Dash boggled at the gray earth pony, for now they knew that this was no unicorn, and shook her head vigorously to be sure her mind was not playing tricks on her. Pinkie Pie, you really altered your looks. I'm not saying that the flat mane look isn't in right now, dearie, Verity said softly, reaching a hoof out to Pinkie, exceptionally long, pale mane. But I think this is overdoing it. Pinkie's mane withdrew of its own volition, the sullen earth pony shifting slightly in her seat, so as not to face the Fasinisa. Planky-pa, Applejack began steadily. From one earth pony to another, I'm telling you not to shut on you pulling out. Well, it ain't healthy. A slate gray hoof raised itself sharply. It pointed straight at Applejack's muzzle. The message was clear. Talk to my hoof, because my face doesn't want to hear it. Applejack began to growl irritably. Applejack, please, Twilight said sympathetically. She's not mad at any of you. She's mad at me. So, I have to be the one to talk to her. Pinkie's eyes settled on Twilight as the lavender unicorn lowered onto her haunches in front of her. Twilight took a deep breath in and started slowly. It was really out of line to get on your case about your pinkiness. I was horrible to you after you saved all our lives, and I'm sorry. I'm really, truly, deeply sorry. Pinkie said nothing. She may have been a statue for all the movements she showed. It was beginning to unnerve Twilight how Pinkie was just not blinking, nor was the one eye Twilight could see even moving. Sages were perfectly normal in a pony's eye, as it was never truly at rest, taking in every minute detail with minuscule darts here and there to gather a full picture. But Pinkie's eye was just staring so intensely at one singular point on Twilight's face that Twilight felt as though she were under the eye of the Unmaker himself, her continued existence only a matter of willpower of some obscure figure of awe and dread. Pinkie, why aren't you saying anything? Pinkie did not reply, but pantomimed toward Twilight. With a spiteful glare, she pointed at herself with her right hoof, cupped her colors hooves on either side of her open mouth, allowing Twilight to see that even her insides had gone gray, then pointed at Twilight with her left hoof. You want to say something? To me? Twilight asked. Pinkie nodded. The monochrome earth pony took in a deep breath with closed eyes, her eyelids black. Twilight could see faded teeth set in ebony gums. Then Pinkie blew a long and loud raspberry, less than an inch from Twilight's face. Her eyes slightly askew. Twilight's view filled with pale white hair and black spirals in white eyes. Her pale gray tongue retracting into her mouth, Pinkie resumed her previous stance of slack misery, her curtain of lanky white hair closing over her face. Pinkie, please, let me talk to you. Twilight tried to pry open Pinkie's mane, but somehow the strands adhered to each other like they were a solid piece. Twilight sighed, her eyes burning. Pinkie, please, I'm sorry! Desperately, Twilight took the slate gray party cap in her glimmer shimmer and placed it on Pinkie's head. See, Pinkie? It's your party hat. You love parties. You love being happy. Making other ponies happy. Making them laugh. Pinkie's mane slid open, letting Twilight see her spite-filled eye once more. Twilight offered a nervous smile. Then, a colorless glimmer shimmer illuminated the party hat. Twilight found herself being hoisted off the ground in a cold pale light and dumped roughly on her head facing the wall. Pinkie swung around on her seat, choosing to face the wall herself. As she turned around, every pony saw that even her cutie mark had changed. The popped remains of 3 black wounds in their strings. Rainbow Dash arched an eyebrow. Well, that could have gone better, Purple Smart! Bite me, came the sharp reply. Fluttershy reached out towards Pinkie plaintively.
Pinkie, please, don't be mad at Twilight. She really is sorry.
Pinkie's head spun around so fast that every pony thought they could hear bones cracking as the Grey Earth pony's head turned past the 10 dozen and 10-degree mark, her eye widening madly at the yellow Pegasus, her nostrils flaring and her teeth grinding together. Fluttershy yelped and sunk back into her seat.
Yeep! Or stay mad at her, whatever makes you happy.
Fluttershy squeaked fearfully. Hey! Rainbow Dash bellowed, leaning in toward Pinkie with nasty teeth. You leave her alone! She didn't do anything to you! Rainbow Dash, leave her be, came Twilight's voice, the lavender unicorn having righted herself, rubbing her head sorely. We can't force her to be happy again. We have to let her come to her senses on her own. So, we're going to let her stew like this? Rainbow Dash snapped. She's bound to bite some pony's head off at this rate! We can't force her hoof, Rainbow Dash. I apologize to her. Now I have to wait for her to bounce back out of this funk. Twilight watched as Pinkie's head finished its full rotation, leaving the Grey Earth pony to facing the wall again. She gulped. If she even does snap back out of it! Those steps across the top of the caravan caught every pony's attention, save Pinkie's, and soon Sakura's face appeared in one of the grates in the ceiling. My pony friends, is there trouble about? Methinks that I may have heard a shout, she asked of them. Twilight waved a hoof at the gray mare huddled in the corner. Remember the Pinkie Pie we told you about? This isn't a unicorn. It's her. Sakura arched an eyebrow. But such a revelation cannot be. She used Alicorn magic, my friends should see. Well, I did say she does weird things, she replied, before looking sadly at Pinkie's back. But right now, I couldn't care less. I don't care if her weird powers are just part and parcel of her special talent, or she's some liminal being of some sort. She's my friend, and I made her angry at me, and at the world. Perhaps, to alleviate some remorse, you could open the window if you are close, Sakura offered, gesturing a hoof to the sliding panels between the tapestries on the walls. Rainbow Dash bolted up to each panel in turn, sliding them open at lightning speed. She was back at Fluttershy's side in a literal heartbeat, peering out the grated window at passing flora and fauna. Whoa! Check this thing out! She said brightly, pointing at a large reptilian creature in the marsh. It had a neck as long as a giraffe's, and a tail just as long. It was currently feeding off the leaves of the top branches of a tree. A Molokai Mamembe, Twilight gasped in awe, watching it plod from one tree to the next. A what now? Equestrian herpetologists call it an Apatosaurus, one of the largest reptiles on Harmonia. I never thought I would see one so close. It was obvious that Twilight's friends were overcome with wonder at the Molokai Mamembe, or the Apatosaurus, or whatever name they prefer to call it. Fluttershy in particular looked in awe of the beast as it took a large branch in its teeth and bent down to level with its knees where, look! The yellow Pegasus gasped happily, babies! Some hatchling Molokai Mamembe were calling up at the parental figure, which apparently lowered the branch to its children's level so they could feed on the dewy leaves of the tree's highest branches. Looking over her shoulder, Twilight smiled, faltered at the sight of Pinkie. She was seated in the front of a closed panel. Maybe seeing some of the natural wonders of Ponyville would do her some good. Pinkie spun around in a flash before Twilight had even halfway crossed the caravan's breadth, her forelegs miming the act of being trapped inside a large box. Her mane completely covered her face. Twilight could not begin to guess what Pinkie's facial expression was, though she had a shrewd idea. Almost as quickly as Pinkie spun around, she was facing the wall again. Twilight was too canny regarding Pinkie's unusual abilities to write out the Monochrome's mare as accents as fruitless. Sure enough, when she reached the cloven hoof out to the exact spot where Pinkie had placed her hooves, it met a completely invisible wall that would not yield at her force. A clown when she's happy, a mind when she sad. What have I done to you, Pinky? Underneath Pinky's curtain of lanky white hair, ink-black tears leaked from the helical blank markings on her blank white eyes, her teeth constricted, and lips quivering in misery. The journey to Nueces was not necessarily a slow one, but it was definitely a easier one. The creatures of Ponyville were most certainly less agitated by the perpetual morning than Equestria's were by eternal night. There were many that were not terribly unlike the sorts of ponies one would see in zoos, such as primates swinging about the trees and eating various types of fruit, hippopotamuses wallowing about in the shallows, and crocodiles that they steered clear of. However, there were many others that were obviously either too big or too dangerous to be kept in any zoo. Fluttershy squeaked in terror and hid from the window.
I think I just saw a dragon.
No way! Spike cleared out gratefully, looking out eagerly through the grated slots. Where is it? Where's the dragon? Twilight looked out curiously, before shaking her head at the long-necked beast in the broad swamp to the left of her path. That's not a dragon, Fluttershy. That's a Ninky Naka. Is that sleeper for dragon? I'm afraid not, Twilight replied. It's a Brachiosaurus. It's very territorial. Knows that there aren't any other creatures in the swamp with it. It will overturn any boats that stray too close to it. Fluttershy sighed happily.
Thank goodness it wasn't a dragon.
Hey! Spike interjected. What's wrong with dragons?
Well, it's just, I'm scared of dragons.
But I'm a dragon, Spike continued, looking and sounding more than a little hurt. Rainbow Dash wrapped a wing around Fluttershy. I think what Shy means is he's scared of full-grown, fire-breathing, eat-a-pony and one-swallow dragons. You're just a baby dragon, Spike. Cute and harmless. Hey! Who said I'm harmless? Spike growled, before Twilight rested a hoof on his shoulder. Don't listen to Rainbow Dash, Spike, she said softly. You're the toughest, bravest dragon that I know. What other dragon could have held back the Nightmare Guard like you did? Spike smiled broadly and warmly at the nuzzle that Twilight gave him, and the sight of his joy kindled a new warmth in her heart. How could she have lived without his happiness? Knowing the looks that her friends were giving her, Twilight pulled Spike a little closer and said brightly, I have accepted Spike's feelings for me as a son, and give him my feelings for him as a mother. Randy let out a high squeal of delight. Applejack gave a joyful cheer. Fluttershy gave a nod with a smile, and Rainbow Dash gave a genuinely warm smirk. Word to you for being honest to yourself, T.S. Twilight blinked, but made no other show of surprise at the rather reserved reply from the Rainbow-Maned Pegasus. Well, thank you, Rainbow Dash. Hey, don't mess in it! Fluttershy squeaked in fear as he looked back out the window.
Is that a dragon, Twilight?
Twilight took a look at the winged shape between the treetops. That's a Kagamoto, or a Pteranodon, if you like. Rainbow Dash pointed out the window herself. And that? You can't tell me that's not a dragon! That thing has to be a dragon! That's a Kabali. Twilight scoffed at the crocodile creature, basking in the sunlight, its long legs hidden by the swamp water. Really? Rainbow Dash replied nervously. Could have sworn that was Spike's fourth cousin twice removed. Oh hey, is anybody else hungry? 'Cause I am. Both faced attempts to steer the subject away from her faux pas side. Most every pony agreed that they were rather impetuous. Their attention switched to opening their saddle cells and digging into the provision that King Leo's cooks had provided. Only Applejack seemed to hesitate in opening her saddle cells. Applejack? Verity queried, purple light shining her face from inside the saddle cells. Are you not hungry? Applejack waved a hoof dismissively. Afraid not, Rarity. I'll especially request the King Leo's cook to only bake me in all perishables. I'm saving my food for emergencies, in case we run out. Her stomach began to growl furiously, almost immediately after she finished. The Polemo offered a nervous grin. Well, my greatest smith always did say I had the appetite of a full-grown stallion. Well, you could share my food, Twilight offered, levitating a hayburger out of its paper wrap. Ah, no, Twilight, I couldn't. It's the food that your honorary uncle had made for you. Rainbow Dash snorted. What is it with you Earth Ponies going on hunger strikes today? Excuse me? Well, don't look at me. You look at her! She pointed at Pinkie Pie. The monochrome Earth Pony had not so much moved. Her ears not even twitched. She might as well not even heard Rainbow Dash. Twilight hesitated. She had told her friends that leaving Pinkie alone right now was probably the best idea now that she had apologized. However, Pinkie going on a hunger strike was only likely to exacerbate any irritation she was holding on to. Swallowing her nervousness, Twilight sat down onto all four hooves and took slow steps toward the desaturated Earth Pony. Pinkie? Twilight levitated a small daisy oat sandwich from her saddlebags. Please, you have to eat something. Twilight? Applejack asked with a nervous edge. Are you sure that's a good idea? I mean, you did say... I know what I said, Applejack! Twilight replied shortly, before facing Pinkie once more. The gray Earth Pony had not buzzed at all. She was stiller than a statue. Please, Pinkie, you have to eat. I'm not asking this for me. This is for you. We have to keep up our strength. Pinkie turned slowly toward Twilight, a part opening her mane to allow the sullen mare to glance at the sandwich in Twilight's shimmer. Twilight felt her eyes burn. Please? Pinkie? Pinkie blinked, looking from Twilight to the sandwich and back again. Finally, slowly, her hoof drew itself upwards and held itself out beneath Twilight's floating sandwich. Twilight smiled. Thank you, Pinkie. As she lowered the sandwich into Pinkie's waiting hoof. The monochrome mare slowly drew the sandwich back toward herself, pressing her mane back behind her head as she held the daisy oat sandwich between her hooves. Her spiraled eyes focused singularly on the sandwich, as though she had never seen one before. She seemed to pay no mind to the anxiously expectant looks that Twilight and her friends were giving her. Her mouth slowly opened, the sandwich drawing toward her mouth. Her teeth sank into the bread as she drew back as she chewed. Twilight could see the microscopic flash of enjoyment on Pinkie's face, the minor widening of the eyes, the slackening of the jaw, the loosening of the cheeks as he apparently caught the taste of the daisy and oats mixed together with the bread, and some special seasonings of equestrian origin that evidently magnified the flavor of all the parts. It was past in less than a moment, though, as he was chewing more slowly, and scowling as though to pretend she was not enjoying that sandwich one bit. Smiling encouragingly at the sullen mare, Twilight returned to her seat to face her other friend's mildly perplexed looks. She shrugged. It's the best we can hope for now, she said lowly, in hopes that Pinkie was too absorbed with eating the sandwich to hear her. Even eating a sandwich that I offered her must have been a big step for her. I hope you're right, Applejack whispered, glancing over at the gray Earth Pony across the aisle. I ain't never seen Pinkie so glum before. Twilight nodded, her heart lightening at the sight of Pinkie absent-mindedly licking the breadcrumbs off her hooves with a gray tongue. With no sunset, it was difficult to judge when the correct time to fall asleep. It was the opposite problem they had faced on so many days' journey back in Equestria, where the sheer lack of sunset led to more than a few false stops on any given day. Here, in a Ponyville caravan, traveling through the foreign wilderness, surrounded by foreign creatures, the constant morning sunshine continually trickled the band into a state of wakefulness. Sakura evidently seemed to be rather aware of this, as he drew the caravan to a halt and entered the caravan itself, facing the band with sympathetic eyes. The journey is still long, I realize, she said slowly, so we will stop for now and rest our eyes. There was no contesting this. If anything, the fact that the caravan at Grootslang had stopped was as good a way to induce sleepiness as they could acquire out here in a state of perpetual mourning. Sakura's fellow zebra attendants provided blankets for the entire group, though it proved difficult to drape Pinkie in a blanket while she continued to sit upright in her statuesque posture. These blankets were especially enhanced by the abada named Kitada, who made the blankets cool to the touch. They aid in sleeping through the eternally baking morning. Falling asleep was hardly restful for Twilight, and she assumed that held true for pony and zebra alike. It had nothing to do with the beasts that lived in the thinning forest around them. The Gruslung was the mightiest beast in the continent of Aspisa, feared even by the kingly lion and the deadly manticore. Despite their security because of the great beasts drawing their caravan, the ever-present deadline to keep many restless. Even the stoic Pinkie Pie was shuddering mightily, though perhaps she was just trying to wiggle herself deeper under her blanket. Taking one last sad look at the mess that she had made of that funny little mare, Twilight drew herself up under her blanket and forced her eyes shut. Sleep did not come easily because her eyes kept her tightly shut, but Twilight refused to yield to insomnia, and a quick sleep spell cast upon herself soon brought her land to rest. Her dreams were filled with falling stone spears, which crumbled at the sound of devilish laughter. Pinkie Pie elongating into a long rope and giggling madly. Rarity giving away all that she possessed, including her very skin and bones. Applejack fusing into her body and following her everywhere. Fluttershy nursing her with a milk bottle. Rainbow Dash being Rainbow Dash. Spike burping up a letter for Nightmare Moon that detailed the greater significance of dust in a world of perpetual darkness. Then, her parents were back to normal, but her father, Naklik, still had a cactus for half of his head, and one of his legs was extremely prickly. He collapsed, and Twilight reached down to him in horror, before she heard a red-stick gagging noise above her. Twilight Velvet, her mother, had a cluster of agave leaves emerging out from her mouth, nostrils, and ears. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't scream. But ripping out the leaves caused her even greater pain. What had gone wrong? Was it bad to try to turn them back? How would they last in the world in this state? Why was this life such a nightmare? Twilight sat bolt upright, almost bumping into a pair of bright blue eyes.
Woo! Twilight, you gotta let some ponies know when you're going to wake up from a really, really bad dream, because you almost knocked my block off with that headbutt!
Twilight blinked. Was she still dreaming? Bouncing about the room with gleeful abandon and rubbery legs was Pinkie Pie, as bright and pink and gleeful as the day Twilight had met her. Her party hat had even returned to its bright blue hue, and Smile is playing in my head. Pinkie? Twilight gasped. You're you again?
Pinkie giggled. Silly Twilight, I'm never not me. It's just...
The normally exuberant mare's ears drooped slightly, and the corners of her mouth fell.
Sometimes, when I think that other ponies don't like me, I turn gray. And when I'm not gray, I'm not fun anymore. I'm just angry at every pony, and I just want to be alone. If I get to be not fun Pinkie again, I'm sorry.
I know, Pinkie, Twilight said with a sad smile, putting a hoof on Pinkie's feathery shoulder. I know. I'm sorry I had to put you through that. But right now, I'm just glad my friend's back. Pinkie wiped away a single tear.
I'm glad I'm back too.
I'm glad you're back too, Pinkie. A lot of people tend to get sad whenever they see Fluttershy cry. Me? I get sad when you're mad, Pinkie. Rainbow Dash let out a long, wingy yawn, stretching out from under the blanket she was sharing with Fluttershy. The Cyan Pegasus' wings flexed slowly as he rubbed at her eyes with a feathery hoof. Blinking, Rainbow Dash squinted at the ruffled feathers of her fetlocks, digging her teeth into a downy fetlock and pulling out a split orange feather, which he spat onto the floor. Slowly shaking her head, she began to bend one of her wings around, to preen when she noticed that Twilight and Pinkie were awake and watching. She glowered with half-sleeping eyes. Brainy's private business, guys, she slurred. Do you mind not staring?
Oops! Sorry, Daisy!
Pinkie squealed as he pulled her tail around her eyes. Then, her eyes poked out through her tail.
But I bring my fetlocks to public, Dashi, and nobody complains about that.
Well, you're you, Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash drawled, before returning to her nose to her secondaries. 3, 2, 1. Her eyes popped out of her head, and she double-taked at the pink earth pony, who batted her eyelids innocently at Rainbow. Pinkie Pie, you're back to normal! Well, I mean normal for you, but you super? Pinkie squealed with a broad grin.
Tori here says he was sorry, and I could tell that he was really meant it. So I decided that it was wrong to be a grumpy meanie pants about the whole situation, and going back to being bouncy normal, having Pinkie me and Diane Pie again. And let me tell you, it feels good to be able to talk again, because earlier when I was being a grumper once I didn't talk, and it felt so terrible for not talking about my problems, and not being able to tell you how tasty that hamburger was finally, and I'm just so glad to be able to talk again.
Rainbow Dash chuckled. You definitely got your head back on straight, Pinks.
You know, I never thought that my head had ever gone backwards before.
Pinkie wondered, with a hoof to her chin, and flicking her ear in thought. It's a figure of speech, Pinkie, Twilight explained with a mild grin, trying not to imagine the prospect of Pinkie taking her own head off and putting it back on, with no intervening period of death. Others began to stir around them, Sakura being the first to fully draw herself to the waking world. The rhyming zebra scanned the room slowly, blinking slowly at the sight of Pinkie Pie, before turning her head toward Twilight. Do I spy with my very own eye, she said sleepily, the pink mare who you call Pinkie Pie?
Yes, indeed, that's me all over. It's I, Pinkie Pie.
Pinkie Pie gleamed softly, and somewhat dramatically, the others rousing more fitfully as a result of her exuberance. Spike jolted awake and began to stammer blearily out some sort of attack. Fluttershy let out a fearful squeak and glanced about anxiously. Applejack clamped her hose over her own ears and closed her eyes shut. Verity actually sat bolt right up and sent her blanket flying to the ceiling. The zebras around them, to their credit, made virtually no noise as they quickly rose to all fours and began to paw the ground in readiness for combat. Worry not, my friends. The mare is no danger, Sakura said in Yubei, though there is no need for our rangers. For this pony you see before our eyes is the very self-same Pinkie Pie. The zebras looked at the zebra with slightly bemused expressions, but the fact that they had lowered their raised hoofs to the ground was a sign to Twilight they no longer thought of this pink earth pony as potentially hostile. Once the crabbiness had been successfully averted, Twilight explained as best she could, with the occasional interjection from Pinkie herself, what exactly had unfolded to make Pinkie turn temporarily gray and bitter. Her audience simply nodded and accepted her explanation, as translated by Sakura, but it was clear they were just as baffled as the one explaining it to them. After all was said and done, Pinkie Pie's Ponyville friends rose to their hosts and, one by one, gave her a firm hug. I can rightly say that I ain't never been happier to see you, Pinkie Pie, Applejack said softly.
Aww, I'm happy to see you too, Applejack.
You're really spooky when you turn gray. You know that, right? Rainbow Dash said with a broad grin.
I know, right? I mean, I turned gray.
Pinkie giggled emphatically, earning her several odd looks.
I must say, as unbecoming as it is for a mare for your age to be so exuberant,
Rarity said smilingly,
it is most relieving to see you rather than that. Who wouldn't want to see me? I'm the partiest pony in Ponyville.
Fluttershy hesitated a little in approaching the pink party pony. She clearly recalled the deathly stare that Pinkie had given her in one more hostile condition. But the hug she gave to Pinkie was just as firm as her other friends.
Please, don't scare us like that again,
Fluttershy said in a low breath.
Pinkie promise,
Pinkie said brightly, crossing her heart with a forehoof. With all business relating to earth ponies who could change color behind them, hopefully, Sakura and her band of zebras returned to their positions atop the caravan, the man the Groot slang. Twilight and her band prepared to open their saddle cells and have some breakfast. when a great hissing trumpet broke the morning air, echoing out for miles. Fluttershy screamed in terror, hiding beneath her blanket.
What in the world was that?
She was not the only one to show alarm, just the one to show it most timidly. Rainbow Dash and Applejack tensed up, preparing for combat. Pinkie Pie reached into her mane and pulled out a large blue cannon, rapping the foos with her hoof. Twilight and Rarity lit to respective Alicorns, each cycling through spells in her mind that would be adequate for subduing some foe. Spike put up his claws, balled into fists, trying to put on a brave face. Sakara's face appeared in one of the grates overhead. Worry not about that sound, which echoes forth through the air and ground. The crude slang we did send out, as to call back to our patrolling scouts. These foes they know, for tree top to root, and the speed that they will travel will leave you quite mute. They will join us in time with the speed of the wind, with news that will surely make them grin. The pink one is found, and our journey commences. By this week's end, we shall see the capital's fences! Settling down once more, the band sat down to have their breakfast. Fluttershy snuggling up to Rainbow Dash for comfort. Applejack once more abstained from opening her shadow cells, choosing to subsist only on her own eternal stores of Earth Pony magic. I actually got a lot of excess energy from when I saved Twilight from that hyena feller, she explained. I could take in energy for soil when I'm standing firm like, and I did that to ward off the bite from that nasty critter. It's how an apple farmer can work in the field all day without needing so much as a salt lick. I feel like the soil out there in zebra country. Feels quite fine and fertile. Twilight did not quite understand Applejack's talk of the feel of the Ponyvillian soil, but put it down to Earth Pony's magic's uniqueness. The last legs of the journey to the Ponyvillian capital took the caravan out of the forest and into the savannah. The trees and swamps settled with wildlife, replaced with wide plains of grass and intermittent herds. The occasional spark of lightning in the sky initially brought Rainbow Dash glee, thinking that the Wonderbolts had come out to aid them. But it turned out to be Impudlu, or a lightning bird, as Twilight translated. Of course, not all the sights and sounds were unpleasant. Herds of wildebeest could occasionally be seen grazing, giving the Groot slang and its tower caravan a wide berth. Magnificent birds of all sorts, even the majestic Binnu, alighted on the occasional rock, and pecked away at moss or bugs upon the rock's surfaces. The zebra scouts who had been searching for Pinkie Pie, under the assumption she was lost and not gray, had joined up with the caravan a mere 2 days after the Groot slang had sounded its call. Twilight was astonished at the speed with which zebras could travel, but recalled Applejack standing firm, and reasoned that perhaps the Kuato zebras had implemented the opposite kind of magic, repulsion as opposed to attraction. Pinkie's gumball radio let them know that Nightmare Moon was cracking down even harder upon Equestria than she had before, coercing the greatest unicorns in the land to erect an anti-winking ward around the entirety of the queendom. No pony could wink into or out of Equestria, and if they tried, the Nightmare Guard and the Shadow Bolts would know immediately. But where are the Wonderbolts? Rainbow Dash asked anxiously. As it transpired, the Wonderbolts themselves had forfeited combat operations against the Shadow Bolts, instead taking to the sky and raining down their sunbolts over cities, towns, and villages without Heliogenesis suns, using their high speed to evade pursuit and capture. Rainbow Dash scoffed at the notion of them backing down from a fight, but conceded that perhaps this was the smarter option. On the 7th day, they entered the caravan, days measured only by the duration of sleep cycles. The savanna around them began to thin out, and the grass becoming shorter and more sparse. The rocks were smaller, but more frequent. More unsightly kinds of plants made their homes here, and few animals dared to cross this way willfully. Look! Twilight pointed out the window, at a patch of deep blue flowers off in the distance. But it was not simply their petals that were blue. Their stems were blue. Their leaves were blue. Even their pollen was blue. Twilight had a shrewd idea as to the genius of those plants. Poison joke. That's it? Rainbow Dash commented, a rainbow eyebrow raised. Doesn't look so bad. It's just blue.
Well, I do find it a pleasant state of azure, Verity cut in, but blue can be a rather dismaying color.
Excuse me? The Cyan Pegasus replied, furrowing her brow. I happen to be very blue.
Rather more a very light cerulean, Verity corrected, but that perhaps the point of joke is, based off the course on recollection, capable of pulling some rather mean practical jokes.
Rainbow Dash snorted. I bet you look like one of the mop dogs. Verity butted her forehead against Rainbow Dash, eyes flaring. You take that back! Why should I?
Because some ponies happen to take great pride
in their appearances. You got that right, grinned Rainbow Dash, flicking locks of green, blue, and purple mane with a sweep of her hoof. See this, baby? All natural, and I just let the wind brush my mane out.
Well, I suppose that does work for some males, but...
Verity suddenly stammered, rearranging her pensive look into a rather perturbed one.
But I still do not appreciate the snide remark about my potential resemblance to an Apulia dog!
Okay, fine. I'm sorry, Princess, Rainbow Dash drawled. End of chapter. Close the book.
But we're not over,
Pinkie Pie interjected, clicking about madly. Well, nothing particular.
Your chapter's not over yet, is it? Is someone still laying out my words? Is Marshall for years still doing my voice? Am I about to go mute? Is this whole world about to go mute?
No, Pinkie, I'm looking at the red line here, and we're only halfway done.
Oh, thank goodness.
Can I continue now?
Be my guest.
Laughter began to brim from each of those sitting around Pinkie Pie. Her madcap declamation had effectively diffused the tension in the caravan, more effective than anything any of them could have planned or suggested. Rainbow Dash beamed. Man, Pinkie sure is a laugh and a half, isn't she? Verity nodded with a light smile.
She appears to be in top form at the moment.
Rainbow Dash's eyes met Verity's. No hard feelings? Verity's eyes met Rainbow Dash's.
None.
All right, then, let's hoof up on it. Rainbow Dash spat in her hoof and held it out toward Rarity. Rarity recoiled with a shriek of horror, ears going flat, and her hose drawn up over her face instinctively. Applejack burst off a great guffawing laugh at the sight, and Rarity glared daggers at the Polemo. My pretty friends, do not glower, Sakura's voice interjected from one of the ceiling grates, drawing the attention of all. For we will approach the capital within the hour. Collect yourselves and keep your manners clean, for soon you will be meeting the Zebra Queen. The prospect of soon meeting the Queen of Ponyville shot bolts of eagerness and anxiety through Twilight and her friends. Finally, some answers. The secrets of the elements of harmony would be revealed, and the downfall of Nightmare Moon would soon follow. With the approach to Nuese Nuope intimate, Twilight found herself getting rather giddy at the prospect of meeting some pony who knew the Queen Celestia for so long.
This is really exciting,
she said fervently.
Queen Malakika has had a long history with Queen Celestia. They've been on the Cosmic Council for gross centuries.
The Cosmic Council? Rainbow Dash remarked. What's that?
It's a council of the heads of state of the greatest countries in Harmonia.
Twilight explained patiently. Equestria is represented, of course, as are the Crystal Empire of the Crystal Ponies, Equestria of the Mermares, Magnesia of the Land of the Centaurs, Salarabia, the home of the horses, the Minotaurs, Shin, the country of Qilin, Orloff, the Empire of the Griffins, with the capital city of Griffinstone, and a fair few others. Honestly, Rainbow Dash, you'd think you'd never read a book in your life! The Cerulean Pegasus scoffed. Reading Schmeenin! I probably couldn't possibly think of very many books that would be awesome enough for me to read. Twilight let out a snoring chuckle. I could think of at least 10. Rainbow Dash promptly scrunched up her muzzle and darted wide, serious eyes about nervously, prompting a high giggle from Pinkie Pie. Their shadow cells were placed on their backs. Twilight and her friends took to their seats and anxiously anticipated their arrival at the capital. Spike cuddled himself between Twilight's forelegs. the lavender mare wrapping her hose around his belly. He rested his claws on her forelocks and smiled up at her, Twilight smiling in return. Barely a dozen and 8 minutes had passed before Sakura appeared once more in the ceiling windows, with a kindly smile. "The capital nears. Join me on the roof," she explained, "for soon we will have to enter by hoof. The capital allows no cruise-line entry, for the await gates and sentries." Acquiescing to the zebra's request, Twilight took the spike onto her back and led her friends out of the caravan, scaling a small wooden staircase that Kajanda the Adaba had set down for them. Seated at the top of the caravan, behind the great back of the cruise-line, Twilight could see far into the distance of the savannah. Squinting slightly, she thought that she could make out the wavering shapes of sand-colored buildings, along with a white building topped with black bulbs and a large central black dome. "We're almost there!" Twilight breathed. Spike placed a claw over his eyes to block out the light bouncing off the white clouds above. "The zebra capital? Doesn't look all that big." "A large capital does not a good capital make," Sakura explained. "If invaded, we've not many lives at stake. Also, the Queen can foresee a time when her funeral bells will certainly chime." Twilight found herself wincing slightly. "Queen Malkika? Dying? What do you mean?" Sakura closed her eyes in bereavement. "She allows her subjects some laissez-faire, with all of her capacities beyond the compare. She gives us time to think and grow, so that her passing will not be such a blow. One day she will die, and I fear see it soon. She may not even see the defeat of Night and Moon." "That's heavy stuff, man," Rainbow Dash replied soberly. In a matter of minutes, the group's line reached the walls of Nuese Nauope. Tall and built of sandstone they were, but enchantments of Adaba and Kawato alike lay upon the walls to prevent erosion. These same walls had been erected over 24 gross years prior, when Malkika Mahabara's great ancestor founded the metropolis. The great gates into Nuese Nauope, Kupiqua, were forests from alternating rows of dark and light stone. They were also fortified with powerful defensive magic, only opening when the guard zebras allowed passage into the city. On either side of the great gates were 2 lions' heads carved into stone, the left one snarling. A pair of zebra guards, one Mwabwa and one Adaba, crossed a pair of spears in front of the Kupiqua, blocking passage into the city. They spoke with Sakura in their native Idubwe, and the rhyming zebra responded in kind to them. Though Twilight blocked most of their speech out of her mind, as a matter of privacy, she caught the general gist of the conversation. Sakura had been out to retrieve a party of mares dispatched from Leonese, and confirmation of their retrieval was made. The Mobla and Adaba guards nodded smilingly, as Sakura leaping down to join them. Each of them placed a hoof upon the Kuipika gate, and the dark and light stone sank into the ground as though it were quicksand. "Wow," Rainbow Dash gasped. "Why, it's some magic," Applejack commented with wide eyes. "Come on down, my pony friends," Sakura beckoned. "Your travel has now reached its end." Leaping down from the caravan and trotting alongside the group's line as it slid its eyelids shut, Twilight and her band joined Sakura as she welcomed him into the Ponyville capital of the Nuese Nauope. Gasps and exclamations of awe and wonder broke out. After the gradually deteriorating conditions of the outside leading up to this arrival, they had every one of them grown to fear that the capital of the Zebra Nation had fallen into dilapidation. Such worries were proved to be unfounded, though by no means in prime condition. It withstood well the ill conditions and a perpetual early morning sunrise would bring over a month's time. All around were buildings of sandstone, as Twilight had seen from atop the caravan. And these were workshops of blacksmiths, store owners, carpenters, weavers, all sorts of different working zebra folk. Streets branched off into each different direction from this main thoroughfare, leading directly toward the capital castle, the residence of Queen Malkika and the royal family. Rarity's jaw was agape at all the fine tapestries and cloths as she saw zebras of all shapes and sizes selling at their places of business.
I did not think that I've ever seen such beautiful garments before. I think that I found the inspiration for my next fashion line!
That's great, Rarity, it really is, Twilight said with a bright but firm tone. But we really need to get to Queen Malkika quickly.
That would not be necessary, my dear little pony,
Came a low and melodious voice from on high, prompting the eyes and heads of Twilight and her band to crane upwards. Floating above the main street of the Nuese Nanuope was a Rumbois, the grandest and most magnificent that any pony present had ever seen. Her colors and stripes were almost more like a tiger's than a zebra's, and as she descended to the street, her regalia could be easily made out. A Nemes, striped blue and white across her head with holes for her horns, a golden collar emblazoned with a shiny white diamond ankh, identical to the mark on her flanks. 6 golden bands on each leg, and 3 binding her tail. Alighting upon the thoroughfare, every zebra in the plaza immediately sank to his or her knees, and began to sursate fervently.
Queen Malkia,
Twilight said in awe, preparing to sink to her knees.
stand, unicorn,
said the zebra queen sternly, before craning her head down to meet Twilight's eye level. Twilight leaned back slightly, the composure of the blink rising as those dark eyes burrowed into hers.
we require proof of your passage, little pony.
Press, Malkia! Spike gasped. Mom! The cipher! Oh, right! Twilight used her pink glimmer shimmer to open her shadow cells, producing the cipher that Queen Celestia had originally left for her. The queen took it in between 2 primaries, scrutinizing the piece of ancient parchment. Twilight found herself sweating, even though she was in the shadow of the walls of Nuese Naope. What if Queen Malkika did not understand the purpose of the cipher?
I, Queen Celestia, have hidden the secret to the 6th element within the royal bloodline of Ponyville.
Read Queen Malkika aloud.
Go to the capital, Nuese Nanuope, and present the cipher to Queen Malkika. She will trust you.
She then passed the missive back to Twilight, and placed it back in her shadow bound. A new twinkle was in the queen's eyes.
you can read the bookworm cipher?
Twilight gasped.
Truth be told, I cannot,
Queen Malkika confessed, with an astonishing levity.
but I would not forget those numbers if I lived a dozen society more.
She reached the wing over and draped it over Twilight's back, Spike chuckling slightly as the feathers brushed against his ticklish spots, and drew the lavender unicorn in close for a surprisingly warm hug. Queen Malkika murmured to Twilight in Dubwe.
Well, do the sun and moon shine together?
Remembering the customary return to such a statement from her learnings on Ponyville royalty, Twilight smiled as she replied,
In the hearts,
in the sky, in the sky of the hearts of all that live. Queen Malkika breathed brightly.
You are very knowledgeable of our customs, young one. May you and yours be ever blessed by sun and moon alike.
Twilight's heart ached for her broken family back in Equestria, but when Spike wrapped his arms around her neck, she smiled warmly back at him.
Now, perhaps as we proceed back to my audience chamber,
Queen Malkika said with a flare of her wings, and a great leap down through the thoroughfare,
we can introduce ourselves to one another.
She faced Sakura.
Sakura, you will accompany us?
Sakura inclined her head.
You honor me, my queen, so kind, whose mind is brighter than the stars combined. Quite,
Queen Malkika replied levelly, before addressing her pony companions in Equest.
Now then, shall we?
It's done! I turned gray!
Piggy Pie giggled.
Isn't that so funny?
Queen Malkika raised a quizzical eyebrow at the pink earth pony as they passed through the gate from Nuese na Nuope's outer ring to its inner ring. For the city of Nuese na Nuope was laid out in a circle of 3 rings, each of which could be locked down in case of an enemy assault. The outer ring was home to merchants and their workplaces. The inner ring was where the bureaucrats and state zebras of Ponyville worked and lived within the city's walls. And the innermost ring, the royal ring, served as home to Queen Malkika, her royal family, and their attendants. Each ring was permeated with a powerful defensive magic, bolstering one another to provide a solid protection to every zebra inside.
Yes, quite amusing.
Queen Malkika uttered hesitantly to Pinkie Pie, before leaning her head down to Twilight and speaking in a subtle voice.
Does Sir Mer speak figuratively of Twilight Sparkle, or is he possessed?
Twilight merely shook her head. It's better to just laugh it off. That's why she turned gray. Because I didn't. Queen Malkika blinked expectantly at Twilight Sparkle, before glancing back at the beaming Pinkie Pie, who trotted gaily along, finally turning her gaze upon the 2 Pegasi, both hovering along side by side.
You 2 seem exceptionally close,
she observed.
Perhaps you 2 married?
No, we're not sisters, Rainbow Dash growled, before blushing red and hiding her cerulean face in her forehouse. Sorry, I thought that you were... Forget I said anything. Technically, Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy are engaged, Twilight interceded.
Ah,
nodded Queen Malkika, before smiling upon the Pegasi.
My greatest wishes of benefaction upon your union.
Thank you, Your Highness,
stammered Fluttershy, withdrawing a little behind her mane. Yeah! Rainbow Dash nonchalantly brought her hose down, putting on a broad grin. Yeah, what she said! Queen Malkika gave them one last nod, before passing her eyes onto Applejack, whose eyes were passing along, each passing a noble zebra, each one dressed in robes of royal hue.
And what is your name, young Earth Pony?
Applejack's attention immediately returned to the Zebra Queen, a bright flush in her freckled cheeks. Oh, well, I'll beg your pardon, Your Highness, but I ain't seen such high living since, well, since I was a little feeling myself. Anyway, my name's Applejack, and I'm of the Apple family.
The Apple family?
Queen Malkika pondered aloud.
Yes, I do recall Celestia speaking of a colony settling in the Untamed Vale.
More colony now. It's a whole village, and my family sells all the apple wares any pony or any zebra could ask for. Why, I'll have some apple treats right here in my saddlebags if you fancy a bite. Queen Malkika politely shook her head with a smile.
I thank you, but I pass.
Finally, her eyes drifted to Rarity, who was admiring the Queen's regalia with almost a hypnotized demeanor.
And you are?
Rarity blinked, and her entire posture went shocked and loose in a decidedly un-Rarity-like fashion.
Oh! Do forgive me, Your Eminence. I was just so taken with your attire. It's simply divine. But, oh, where are my manners? My name is Rarity, Rarity Bell. I am a humble yet talented fashionista mare, and my boutique is known as Carousel Couture. It would be my greatest pleasure to design an outfit for you. That is, when we can find the time. What is it that you would look for in a Carousel Couture dress saddle?
Queen Malkika lowered her head in rumination, before breathing darkly.
My funeral vestments.
The formerly light and even jovial atmosphere suddenly became darker, as though a violin strung had become exceptionally tightened while being played.
Your funeral vestments?
Twilight echoed.
Queen Malkika, is everything all right?
Queen Malkika passed a sad smile onto Twilight.
I am fine, Twilight Sparkle. In fact, I could not be happier. Forgive me, but I found myself rejoicing at the sun freezing in the sky that morning over 1 month ago, for it meant that my own long day was soon to be past, and I could take a very long rest.
Your own long day, echoed Verity. Is this to do with how you look like you're in your prime, and yet you're... Twilight hesitated. She knew it was not polite to ask a lady two things, her age or her weight. You're like a gigagross years old, Rainbow Dash cut in. Queen Malakika turned her dark eyes upon the cerulean Pegasus, ears flattening. Rainbow Dash! Applejack snapped. There's a time and place for talking bluntly. On those length of time, normal place. The feeling of the pressure of Queen's gaze, and the force of Applejack's shout, Rainbow Dash sank to the ground with her ears limp, wings folding over her face and saying, 1 megacross 3001. The band blinked.
Excuse me?
Twilight cleared.
That is how many years have passed since Mother bore me. There was nothing entirely special about me. I was like every other royal zebra foaled with a Novo. But I was in Equestria on that day.
Her eyes turned heavenward, looking past the clouds and sky, trying perhaps to gaze past firmament itself.
The day when the moon stopped in the sky. The day when Queen Celestia banished that Mushe Satani to the moon and took up the mantle of Sky Mover on her own. I knew that day that I would harbor the secrets of the elements for Celestia. She protected my life from nightmare. I will repay that debt by offering her my life.
Twilight gasped.
What did you do?
I agreed.
Nakika explained.
A guess put on me.
Begging your pardon, your majesty, Applejack interjected, but what in the name of the sun and moon is a geese? It's a powerful thermometrical injunction, a contract binding 2 or more parties together, Twilight explained. But gesha are usually forbidden nowadays, and all of the spellbooks containing knowledge of how to cast them have been locked away. Too easy to cast, apparently, for fickle matters.
Why?
Fluttershy asked. Usually, if one breaks a gesh, or fails to live up to the terms, they die. The ponies around her, and Spike, gave her shocked looks and astonished looks, and Queen Malakika nodded before continuing.
The terms, as Celestia and I agreed upon, were that I would not die until I shared with her student all that I knew of the elements of harmony, in hopes of defeating Nightmare Moon, and if I were to break my vow, I would never die.
What? Twilight was horrified. This was nothing like the Queen Celestia she'd known.
There must be a punishment in terms of any geese, and it was customary for one to die from breaking the injunction. In any case, as it was not common situation even for a geese, but I have no intention of breaking the contract. I will tell you everything that I know about all 6 elements.
Twilight stopped, Spike's head nearly colliding with the back of her skull. You know about all 6 elements?
Indeed I do,
Queen Malakika replied, coming to a halt before the gate leading to the royal ring.
I know not all of the secrets. I suppose Celestia had reason not to divulge the full nature of the elements. But when we reach my audience chamber, I, Queen Malakika, Mahababa of Ponyville, shall give you a full divergence as you ought to get without the queens of sun and moon.
The guard zebras at the gate placed their hooves to the stony barricade, which receded into the cobbled pathway. Queen Malakika passed through with great strides, Twilight and her party close behind. If the inner ring was a step above the outer ring in terms of decor and care, then the royal ring was almost as if stepping into a grand painting by a Renaissance artist. The paths were crafted from slabs of light and dark marble, flanked by pillars of alternating colors, depicting coldly engraved figures of stately zebras of all races. Before them rose the great palace of Mahabara, the royal Ponyville family, all in white sandstone as it were forged, save for domes of black and the peaks of minarets. In the middle rose a grand black dome, from whence arose a single spire of gold. Queen Malakia beamed at the odd looks on her 7 accompanying equestrians.
I take it that you are finding the view stunning. Sadly, to say it still stuns me would be false.
She gestured toward the grand staircase leading up to the Marabara's great front doors.
Sorry.
The stairs themselves would appear gray from a distance, but as one got closer, one could see that they too were made from alternating slabs of light and dark stone. The intent of the original construction was that one eye was dazzled as gray to stripes of bright and dim colors.
I suppose you Equestrians are enjoying Ponyville thus far?
Queen Malakika asked as they approached the great doors, one black and one white, each marked with a noble zebra's face.
I'll say,
Pinkie Pie interjected,
it was pretty crazy at first with me going blue, then gray, and then going missing and running away from the big crazy cat creatures and seeing that sticky elephant and getting tossed into the caravan and tossing zebras around who were getting too noisy and refusing to accept Twilight's policy. But since I accepted it, it's been sweet! So many different zebras to make friends with, and so many party favorites to hang out, and so many different sweets to try out!
Yeah! Rainbow Dash cut in. Plus, you guys got so many awesome daring-do creatures here! Queen Malakika and Sakura each raised an eyebrow at Rainbow Dash, who was clearly struggling not to scrunch her muzzle up again.
She's a closeted bookworm,
Twilight explained tactfully. I am not closeted! Rainbow Dash grumbled. Sparing a sympathetic smile for Rainbow Dash, Queen Malakika pushed open the soundless double doors into a grand hallway, the likes of which Twilight had only seen at Canterlot, Leonese, and in the palace of the two Alicorn queens. Torches of light with pure white fire hung from the walls, exposing grand bas-reliefs depicting ancient zebra conflicts and treatises. Even the pillars, which richly carved with the history and culture of 24 gross years of zebra society. Many a Quato, Adaba, and Mabla rendered in ambiguous glory. At the far end of the hall was another set of grand double doors, flanked by two pairs of zebra guards.
There lies my audience chamber,
Queen Malakika said softly.
Follow me, or not speak to the gods.
Obeying her words, the seven from Equestria followed the zebra queen down the hall, each turning his or her eyes upon the bas-reliefs surrounding each of the archway leading elsewhere into the palace. Twilight saw Queen Celestia depicted numerous times, often coming to the Mahabara royal family, and one frieze apparently depicting an ancient meeting of the cosmic council. Twilight did a double take at the dark Alicorn mare at Queen Celestia's side. Was that Nightmare Moon? Or rather, the mare who would become entrapped by a miasma and turned into Nightmare Moon. Reaching the doors to her audience chamber in short order, Queen Malakika addressed the guards imperiously in Duodubwe, and Twilight recalled King Leo's words. Malakika was ordinarily very stern and humorless, but now that her last day had come upon her, she had lost any semblance of tension that she may have felt. Appearances, though, had to be maintained, and she maintained her cold poise quite well. Slowly, though, she lowered her head down to her four guards and apparently began to whisper to them softly. Twilight, the only equestrian present who could understand and translate Idubwe, flattened her ears. She did not need to know what was being said. She had a very good idea. And judging by the solemn looks in the faces of the guards, and tears rolling the face down of one Adaba mare, it seemed that Twilight's idea was accurate. But no further words were spared, and the four guard zebras allowed the queen and her entourage to enter the throne room. "Sakura!" cried a zebra stallion's voice from the main doors of the Mahabara palace. The addressed zebra turned, as did her 6 friends, and her drake friend and queen. It was Kitana the Abdaba from the caravan. He beckoned Sakura toward the entryway, where the double doors were once more open. Against the glare of the early morning sun, Twilight made out the shape of another equine figure standing in the doorway. Who was it? Sakura traded some confused Idube words with Kitana before facing Queen Malakika and Twilight. I apologize for this unexpected event, she said sorrowfully, but this is a conundrum that I must see unbent.
Though I would rather be with you to the end, my queen. I must break off and sort out this befuddling scene.
Malkika bowed her head slightly.
Very well, child. See it done.
Sakura's eyes shone with unshed tears, but she quickly galloped down the hall, with Kadanda quick hot on her heels. "What in tarnation was that all about?" Applejack asked. Malkika let a single tear slide down her muzzle, but she did not answer, as she pushed herself toward the audience chamber. Though narrower in width and lower than in height than the entry hall, the audience chamber was far grander in the sense of its decor. Rich tapestries depicting every noble family in Ponyville hung between narrow windows high on the walls that lit the white sandstone chamber with perpetual sunlight. Along the walls were long white benches, carven from solid white marble. At the far end of the chamber was a tall, high throne of black marble, with a smaller, humbler throne to its right. "Whose throne is that little one's?" Rainbow Dash asked pointedly. Queen Malkika lowered her eyes, going dark.
The crown princesses.
"And," Twilight began to ask, "who is the crown princess?" Malkika's eyes swam with tears, darting back toward the now closed double doors back into the grand foyer. Twilight's eyes widened in horrified realization, and her heart broke at the prospect, hoping against hope that she was wrong. "Wait a minute, you mean Sakura is a—" "Oh, that is awesome." "Wow. Even I'm tearing up a little." But the queen drew herself back up to her full height, sitting herself up on the haunches.
"But there is no time for grief,"
she said with a strong tone that none the less wavered.
"You have come for questions regarding the elements of harmony, and I shall answer each one to the best of my ability."
Twilight raised a hoof. "Your Highness, don't you think that this could wait a little for—" Malkika hung her head, closing her eyes.
"I cannot bring it upon her. I don't know how I will die, but I don't want her to see this. Not now, when she could be spared of it."
Fighting back her pained expression, Queen Malkika addressed Twilight more sternly.
"Every moment spent idly is one more moment of victory for Nightmare Moon. I will not hesitate, even in the face of my own death. If my life can be exchanged for every other life on this planet, I will gladly surrender it, here and now."
Recoiling at the Queen's resolve, Twilight hesitated to respond. This just wasn't right, to deny her own blood a last moment. But Twilight understood her reasoning. After all, she herself would not want Spike to see her go. She would want him to move forward, follow his own path, his own way, unencumbered by grief. Drawing him into one of her forelegs, she nuzzled him and gave Queen Malkika a tearing nod. Malkika returned the nod with a faint smile.
"I thank you, Twilight Sparkle. Now, pay close attention, as I may not be able to repeat myself before I expire."
Each of the 6 mares drew their saddle sails off their backs, opening them one at a time. Sure enough, Rarity's element shards still glowed purple, Pinky's blue, but what in Equestria? Applejack gasped as the shards aglow in her shadow cells, an apple red light shining out at her. "Applejack's element glowing?" Twilight gaped. "All right!" Rainbow Dash pumped a hoof in the air. 3 down, 3 to go! Halfway there! But how in the world did it become active now? Verity asked.
"The answer to that question,"
Queen Malkia said, her eyes on the red glowing shards of stone,
"I do not know, but I can guess.
I believe that the element shards which Applejack's carry were awoken by a realization on her part and yours, Twilight Sparkle, of her compatibility with that element." "My realization?" Twilight asked. "But why me? What makes me so special?"
"I shall come to that shortly. Malakila said patiently. But I believe that each element awakens when two friends realize that one of them has a personality consistent with the element's parameters.
So, what are the elements of harmony?
Twilight asked, trying not to sound impatient.
We need to know those parameters.
There are 5 material elements, and a 6th one which is more abstract, elusive. The 5 more concrete elements embody the traits of loyalty, honesty, generosity, kindness, and laughter. The 6th element, which binds them all together, is the element of magic.
Queen Malakika's eyes met Twilight, and Twilight's eyes met Malakika's.
Twilight Sparkle, the Zebra Queen said lonely. I believe that you are the better of the element of magic.
Me?
Malakika nodded slowly, eyes closed. You have a powerful touch of destiny about you, Twilight Sparkle. All you do, I strongly suspect that even you 7 have the strongest chance of defeating Nightmare Moon and bringing our world back to order.
But, Spike interceded, I'm not a pony, I'm a dragon. And I don't have an element either.
Twilight squeezed him tight to her barrel once more.
You don't need an element, Spike. You're perfect just as you are.
Spike smiled up at her. I suspect, though, Queen Malakika cut in, that your presence in her life has been a constant force for friendship. You have shown her the miracles that one can achieve with a simple act of kindness or charity. You are her oldest friend, are you not?
He is indeed,
Twilight affirmed, giving her son a warm maternal smile.
There's no reason that my oldest friend can't also be my son.
So, you know that Twilight's the bearer of this here element of magic? Applejack asked. So, where is this element of magic? Twilight ain't got no stones. As I have said, the element of magic is immaterial. It only manifests when all 5 other elements are brought together and synchronized with one another. It will not appear on Twilight's person until she has realized all 5 elements with you 5, and...
Twilight blinked amusedly at the regal Mamba. And what?
My apologies, but your Queen Celestia was vague on this point as well. She likened the element of magic to a fire of friendship, and would say no more. I fear she may want you to unlock its secrets on your own.
So, this is some sort of big test?
Rainbow Dash cut in, slumping down to her barrel.
Snoresville! Hey! Twilight snapped. Tests are serious business. If you fail, you're not going to pass. And the bigger the test, the bigger you fail. This isn't any easier on me, but we've got to work together to solve this.
I believe, Malakila added softly, that it's exactly what is entailed here.
So, Twilight is the better of the element of magic,
Rarity said slowly, as though attempting to imprint this so she could recall it later.
What other elements do the rest of us carry?
Pinky let out a loud ringing laugh that echoed to the ceiling. I bet I'm the element of laughter!
Twilight put a hoof to her mouth to withhold a slight giggle of her own.
Really wouldn't surprise me, Pinky.
So, we're at 2 out of 6, Rainbow Dash muttered. But what elements do the rest of us hold? I'm afraid I do not know, Malakika replied. I know that each element glows a distinct color, but I do not know which element is which color. That is not a detail which Celestia was candid on. The Queen's eyes bulged out of their sockets, her name slipping from her head and crumbling to the floor, along with clumps of her mane, now gray and stringing.
No, Queen Malakika!
To every pony's horror, Queen Malakika was aging before her fairy eyes.
No.
Her muzzle wrinkled, her legs shriveled and gave out beneath her, her coat and mane going gray, and slowly falling out strand by strand. Twilight bolted up to the deteriorating Queen, attempting to support her head in grooves.
No! What's happening? Malakika's voice creaked, sounding half a dozen gross years old now.
The gish is complete. I have shared with you all that I know of the elements of harmony.
But no! This can't be the way you die! Twilight sobbed. The decrepit zebra smiled.
Spare me your tears, child. This is not a sad moment. I want this.
No, Twilight cried. It's not fair! Malakika now looked very skeletal. Her skin treads taut over ancient bones. Breathing shallowly, she spoke in a Dubway.
Go now, pupil of Sekhmet, and make this a peaceful world. For my own little ray of sunlight.
Queen Malakika, Marabara's smile remained on her weathered features, her eyes focusing at some point beyond the ceiling, maybe even beyond the firmament into the Elysian fields. Twilight drew shuddering breaths, slowly, using her Dwemer Simmer to close both of Malakika's eyes, before cradling the zebra monarch's head in her forelegs. Each of the 5 mares behind her sat in repose, letting their tears now flow silently onto their cheeks. The audience chamber's doors burst open forcefully. Sakura galloping into the chamber with wide and fearful eyes.
My ponies! I thought I felt an omen while I was speaking with foreigner and yeoman!
No. Her eyes fell upon the fallen body of Queen Malakika, Twilight shaking her head sadly at the new arrival. Sakura's eyes and jaw quivered as he took slow steps toward the body of her queen, scarcely believing her eyes. Then he galloped toward the fallen queen, Twilight stepping aside and gently lowering the queen's head to the cold floor, and knelt in sorrow over the deceased queen. And so, does Sakura Marabara ascend the throne. I'm sorry, Sakura. Really, I am. Sakura gave no indication she heard Twilight, for all the tears and wails she gave off. Twilight backed toward her band, striking Spike gently in her foreleg. Kidanda stood in the foreleg, observing the scene with melancholy.
Arrangements shall be made for her funeral,
he said in a stilted Equus,
and for your return to Pharisee.
Twilight sniffled, rubbing away her tears with her free foreleg. But how will we get back to Equestria without linking in or using cross-pastoric transportation?
Nightmare moons sealed off Equestria from the rest of the world,
Applejack murmured through tears of tears.
And I don't think some Zeppelin's gonna get in with us abroad. I don't know,
said Katana gravely.
For perhaps some friend can be helping you.
A friend? Twilight asked. But how can my friends help me get back?
I speak not of your friends here, Katana explained, but I called Sakura over for her. She comes to Ponyville on her own somehow. Says that she is a friend of yours, and that she has a way to back home.
Before Twilight could puzzle out any further, Katana wordlessly gestured to one of the audience chamber's guards, who silently ushered into the grand chamber another figure, slow and purposeful. Not a zebra, but a pony. A unicorn. Twilight's eyes widened. Moon Dancer? Ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to say that this is how you can tell if you have gotten into a good story and you've been dealing with a good character. When you start tearing up for both Sakura and this one-note character, Queen, that you have just met 5 minutes ago. Yes, I was feeling a little down over the fact that I had gotten attached to this Queen character and he took it away from me. Darn it, Armas! Why must you be good at this? Why must you be good at writing to the point where you give me a one-note character and I like it to the point where I feel bad that you take her away from me? Why must you be good at this? Darn it! I liked her. I really did.